Hey guys, this is a video that I've been wanting to do for ages. I get asked quite a lot about my postnatal depression and also like how I found motherhood kind of in general and my birth stories. So I hope you enjoy it. Please feel free to comment below and tell me your stories and anything you want to share. The more we all talk about stuff like this, I think the better it is and the easier it is to cope because we feel like we're not alone. And yeah, we really aren't alone. Okay, I'll start with our very first miscarriage. So before we had Jake, we had a miscarriage quite early at about 7 weeks. It was really sad because we were super excited about it was our first pregnancy, and we'd been married I think like a year maybe. And so we lost, and we called him little Albie, even though we didn't know it was a boy. We just assumed he was a boy. So we had a little ceremony and we did a little burial. Even though it was only 7 weeks, it was a very young pregnancy, but we felt like it was our baby, and you know, we lost our baby. So that was really sad for us, and it took us quite a long time to process that and to get over that. So that was the first thing. And then the earthquake happened, and that was super traumatic for us, as you all know. Pretty soon after the earthquake, I got pregnant with Jake, and we just moved to Australia, and I was super fit and healthy and thought I'd be one of those super skinny fit mums that just kept on exercising right through her pregnancy. Yeah, pretty much the complete opposite to that. I felt disgusting from basically 5 weeks. I felt really sick. I just wanted to eat burgers and cheese and bread, which I was a paleo eater, so I didn't eat dairy and I didn't eat bread. So for that pregnancy, I literally ate my way through it. I ate anything and everything I wanted, and it was actually an awful experience. I didn't enjoy being pregnant with Jake, and I was really disappointed that I didn't enjoy it. So I was probably already on a bit of a downer when we went into the birth. I was super terrified. I had developed gestational diabetes with Jake, so he was really big, and they actually induced me with Jake. So we went into the hospital. I was induced with like the drip at night. They broke my waters in the morning. It wasn't a natural labour. If I could do it again now, I wouldn't have let them induce me, because I've done a lot more research, and I believe now that the more intervention you have, the worse the result. So yeah, if I could do it again now, I definitely would have waited until probably even 42 weeks before I would have let anyone touch me. Anyway, I didn't. I listened to them and I went for it, and yeah, it was really awful labour. It was contractions 2 minutes apart, right from the start. And I went through the whole process of give me an epidural, give me drugs. I was in so much excruciating pain that I just wanted drugs. I was not in my mind. I was way with the fairies. I just was way out of my mind and could not rationalize my pain at all. And so I had gas first, and I was like, I want an epidural so bad, and they were like, oh, here, jump in the shower, have a shower. And I was like, a shower? Yeah, okay, cool, that's not going to cut it. But so I had a shower, then I had a bath, then they finally gave me the gas, even though I was begging for an epidural. And I said to the midwife, I was like, I've watched One Born every minute, I know what you do, you're just trying to prolong every stage, I want an epidural. So once I got a bit abusive, they gave me one within about 15 minutes, and oh my gosh, I'll never forget that relief, honestly. Oh my goodness, it was so amazing. And I went to sleep. I was only 4 centimeters dilated, and I hadn't moved for like 6 hours. And so I went straight to sleep. And within like 2 hours, I was 10 centimeters. And so I woke up, and they were like, yeah, cool, you're 10 centimeters, you can push. And I was like, okay, cool. So I tried to push and didn't really have this urge to push. Like, I just kind of was like pushing because that's what you do. And then that lasted 2 hours, so I pushed for 2 hours, and in the end, they were monitoring Jake, and he was okay, but my heart rate was crazy. My temperature went crazy, and my blood pressure went crazy. So I basically collapsed on the bed, and I was like, I can't actually do this. I actually felt like I was going to die with the baby in my tummy. And so all of a sudden it was like they rushed, and they were rushing, and all this stuff was happening, and we'll be into the theatre. Andy was there in the scrubs, and then I can't really remember, like Jake came out and like I think he did a cry or something. I was like, oh my god, yeah, he's alive, fine. And I was vomiting, like I was in no state to be talking really. I had so many drugs and stuff in my system, and it was just awful. Like it's just really yucky. And they gave Jake to Andy, and then all of a sudden all these alarms went off, and Andy was like to the side of the screen, and he looked over and saw that they had my uterus up out of my innards area and on top of me, and were like suctioning, and all this stuff was crazy stuff was happening. And then the nurse grabbed Jake and like shoved him in my face and go, here's your son, what's his name? And I literally looked at Jake and I was like, oh yeah, cool, a baby covered in white grossness. Turned over and went bleh, and vomited into a bag that another nurse was holding. And so that was how I met Jake. So I think that my birth experience was a massive reason why I got postnatal depression. It was just so underwhelming, such an anticlimax. Just yeah, even now I do feel robbed a little bit when I talk about it now, because I didn't get to have any of that nice stuff or endorphins or joy when you meet your baby for the first time. I had none of that. Then they rolled me into recovery, and the doctor sat there for an hour watching all my stats just really closely while I kind of lay there and was like, what just happened? And then 6 days later, my milk took 6 days to come in, so 6 days later we went home, and thank goodness my parents were there, which was awesome. My family came, and it was around Christmas time, so my family came to Australia to be with us, which was really, really lovely. And I needed my mum around because, I mean, hello, a new baby, we need our mums, right? So that was awesome. But then she had to go home because that's life, and we chose to have Jake in Australia away from our families, which I still regret to this day. I would never recommend anyone to have a new baby away from their family, especially away from their mum. And that's another huge reason I think why I got postnatal depression, is because I had nobody. I had Andy. Sorry, I didn't have nobody. I had Andy. But he was at work. So, you know, all of a sudden here I was, and I had this new baby, and I hated it. I really hated him. I felt like he... Sorry, I just got a bit emotional there. I mean, it still impacts me today. You know, it's still something that I wish didn't happen, but you know, it did. Anyway, so I had this baby, and I didn't like him. I didn't like being a mum. Motherhood hit me like a freight train. Oh, hi Jakey. Right, Andy's taking the kids out again so I can do this video. So anyway, where was I? Yeah, I really hated Jake. It's so awful to say that, I know, and I kind of still feel guilty about it, but that's how I felt. And I can actually remember standing in my bedroom like wishing for a magical fairy to come and say to me, if you want me to, I'll take you back to before you got pregnant, and I'll tell you what you need to know, so that I could be like, I don't want to have a baby ever. I don't ever want to have a baby. And I actually tried to like wish this fairy to come and do that. How ridiculous is that? That's how I felt. Like I didn't want anyone to take Jake away from me. I knew that I was gonna love him one day, and I knew I had to be his mum, but I just wanted someone to rewind time and to have never done it. Andy had his post-traumatic stress breakdown when Jake was about 8 months old. And basically we all both just decided that living away from our family was ridiculous, and we really needed help and support, and so we moved home to Ashburton, which is about an hour's drive away from my parents, and Andy's family were close as well. Unfortunately, Andy's family didn't really understand what we needed, and so they didn't help us at all. My parents were amazing. They came up every single time they had a day off. They would drive to us. And most weekends I can still remember Mum coming with dinner, and she'd come and like do the housework and take Jake away. It was just so awesome. And I really started to get better then, I think, and to feel better about it. When Jake turned 1, I can remember at his birthday party looking at him in his high chair and thinking to myself, oh, I like you. I actually like you now. And that was really nice, because finally, you know, it took me a whole year, but when he was 1, I actually felt like I liked this kid. I mean, I loved him, but liking someone and loving someone is quite different, you know what I mean? So, and then I still probably had postnatal depression up until Jake was probably like 2. When he was 22 months old, I went back to work, mostly because I needed time to myself. I don't think I fully recovered from my postnatal depression until we got our au pair, Nina, because I knew that Jake was safe at home, I knew he was happy, and I was happy because I was away from him. And I think that's when I totally started to heal from it. So that's how it was for me. I think I just needed regular, consistent, frequent time by myself and time away from Jake, but somewhere where I knew that he was safe. And so that's why Nina was so awesome for us. I felt like I was a much better mum as well when I did spend time with Jake, because I didn't resent him. I enjoyed the time with him, and I just realised that I was the kind of person that was never going to be just a stay-at-home mum. I really struggled with being just a mum, and I know some people love that and they thrive, and that's awesome, and I'm really happy for people like that. I wish I was like that, but I just really wasn't that kind of a mum. Once Daisy was born, I feel like I was totally better. And so then we had another miscarriage between Jake and Daisy, and this time I actually felt like it wasn't gonna stick. It was a really different pregnancy. I didn't feel morning sickness at all, and at our 11 or 12 week scan, whatever it was, I just kind of had a feeling that the baby wasn't going to be alive then. And yeah, she scanned my tummy, and it was a student midwife, a sonographer lady, and she's like, oh, I'm just going to grab my supervisor, I'm just finding it hard to find the heartbeat. And I was like, yeah, no, there's no way that this baby's going to be still there. And her supervisor came in, and she just was like, I'm so sorry, your baby's heartbeat is not there, your baby's died. And so that was pretty sad, but I kind of knew, like, I just think I had a real sense that that pregnancy wasn't going to last. And I did get over that a lot quicker than the first miscarriage. I mean, I say over it, I don't really mean over it, because you don't really get over things. I don't like to use that word over it, because I feel like that's not very helpful for mental health. We don't need to get over something. We just need to learn that it's there and acknowledge it's there, and live in spite of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't get over something. I shouldn't use that word, because I don't actually like that term, get over it. So anyway, then we got pregnant with Daisy, and I felt really good about that pregnancy. I was really sick, and I just wanted all the foods. Again, I was like, oh, this ravenous monster, like, feed me. And so that was a better pregnancy, much better than Jake's. Still wasn't fit at all. Like, I just ate burgers. Daisy is made of Big Macs and spearmint milkshakes. I'm not even kidding. I had this routine at lunchtime. I'd get in my car because I was working, and I'd like go to McDonald's, get a Big Mac, go up to Lizzie's Dairy in Tynwald, grab a spearmint milkshake, and drive back to work and sit there and be like, oh, this is the life. And it was pretty fun. I was just like, I'm gonna eat whatever I want. Surprise, surprise, I got gestational diabetes with Daisy as well. Daisy's birth was an option for us to try for a natural birth or have an elective caesarean. Now in New Zealand, you cannot have an elective caesarean for your first baby unless you're going to pay for it yourself. Like, you can't have that on the healthcare system. Because I had an emergency caesarean with Jake, that was an option for me. I was allowed to choose a scheduled or elective caesarean for Daisy. And we didn't make up our minds until quite late on in the pregnancy, but we did in the end decide to have an elective cesarean with her. And the morning that she was born, the nurse came in to me and she's like, okay, should we pop down and have a baby? And I'd been up early because I was super excited and nervous, and I'd blow dried my hair and like put a pretty little braid in my hair, and I was so ready and excited. And I met Andy down in the room and we got all dressed up, and then I went through to have my epidural or spinal block or whatever it's called for the surgery. And Andy wasn't allowed in the room with me, but he came into the main theatre when I was all ready to go. And yeah, it was so lovely. Do you know, it was just so, what's the word? It was just calm and exciting, and I was a bit nervous, but it was just mostly really nice. And so they put the screen up, and then I felt a bit of like moving of my legs or whatever, and the anaesthetist was by my ear and he's like, oh, we're well underway now. And I was like, oh, okay, awesome. And then like 2 minutes later he's like, oh, so you'll feel a bit of pushing now in your tummy because the surgeon's going to pull the baby out. And I was like, okay, cool. And I felt a bit of the old moving around, and then I felt this weight to come off my body. Like, oh my goodness, I can't tell you that feeling. It felt like I'd been crushed for 9 months, and then someone had just lifted this massive weight out of me and off me, which they did, and it was Daisy. And she was 9 pound 4, and she just did this massive like scream cry, and it was so cute to hear a little cry. Oh my gosh, it was so cute. So yeah, that was Daisy's birth, and I definitely bonded with Daisy so much better than I did with Jake. I didn't get skin to skin with Daisy, which again, if I could do it again, I would have requested that and I would have been able to have it. At the time I didn't really understand the importance of that, which is a real shame, but I felt so much better about Daisy. And I think with Daisy I had a pretty normal postnatal experience. I mean, I found it hard and I was tired, but I didn't hate her. And yeah, I felt much different with Daisy. It was a lot nicer than Jake's, so that's cool. Breastfeeding was actually quite easy for me. Once my milk came in, I found it pretty easy, which I'm so glad and thankful for, because I don't know how I would have coped. And I know some women just have the worst time breastfeeding and it's really awful for them, but I was super lucky that I did that. And yeah, so that's kind of my story about the births and stuff. Any like tips and advice for people with postnatal depression? I mean, I don't really know the answer. I feel like we're all different, and I think it depends on really how the mum is feeling. You know, there's so many different scales of it, isn't there? And it's probably on a spectrum. I know someone who actually was hospitalized because she almost drowned her child, and so that's obviously on this end. And then on this end it's just a mum who's not really coping and is finding it really hard, and they have the baby blues, and I think kind of we've probably all been there. But I was somewhere in the middle of that. I never physically hurt Jake. I did leave him crying in his cot and walked away outside down the road one day for about 15 minutes. I had to, because I would have hurt him otherwise, and I knew that I had to get out of the house because I knew otherwise I was going to hurt him, like shake him or just throw him or something. But I never got to that point where I actually did anything like that, thank goodness. One thing I wanted to say too about my own experience is that it does get better, and like that's a really good thing to tell someone that's got postnatal depression or that's finding having a new baby really hard, is that it does get better. It really, really does, and that's a really good thing to hear. And acknowledging that it's crap as well, like being like, man, I'm so sorry that it's so shit for you, but you know what, it'll get better. And that's a really good thing to say, because that's what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear that I didn't want to hear, oh, it's not that bad, oh, you'll be okay, it's not that bad, oh, every mother goes through it. People don't want to hear that. They want to hear that it's crap. They want their feelings validated, because that's how they feel and it's real to them. But they also want to know that it's not going to last forever, and it doesn't. It honestly doesn't. Yeah, that's probably a good thing to say to them, is that it will get better. So that's my story, guys. That's what happened to me, and that was my experience with having kids and becoming a mum. Feel free to comment down below and share as much as you want. I really think the more we talk about stuff like this, the easier everybody copes with it. And I also know from experience that pretty much every single mum I have opened up to will open up in return to me and be like, I feel the same. I hate my kids sometimes. Oh my God, the other day I wanted to stab him. Blah, 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 you know. Oh, not stab, like that was a joke. I don't actually really mean stab. I hope you know that my sense of humour is like, I would never, yeah. The more we talk about this, guys, the better. And I think the more everyone copes with it when they know that they're not alone, and it's actually quite normal. It's not ideal, it's not the nice experience to go through, but it happens, and so we all need to be aware of it. Yeah, okay, cool. So that's my little story, and I hope you liked watching, and please feel free to ask me any questions below or comment and share your own story. We will see you soon. Bye.